Being held hostage. Is that a hug or you just...
You're just happy to see me. When we were naming this podcast, we had so many, like, is that a hug?
Oh, we've started.
Is that a hug or are you holding me hostage? I was trying to think, like, is that
Oh my God, we giggled so
that a
hard planning for
non-compete in your
2023.
pocket or are you just happy to see
Yeah.
me? So, Sid, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been held hostage? Okay.
Wait, continue.
Have you ever been held hostage during a bank robbery?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then ask me the same question.
Have you?
Yes. I'm kidding.
Oh, I did.
But
I've known you for 1 billion and 2 years, and I did not know that.
I'm just kidding. No, I've never been held hostage.
It feels
Now
like
watch. Now watch. Manifestation.
It feels like that. In workplaces, though.
In workplaces, I have been held hostage more times than I'd like to admit.
Manipulation. Like
I'm having like so many stories flash before my eyes.
Like very much like, well, what, you know, if you do that, like you'll lose your career. You know, like it's always just like horrible things.
I remember working for a woman named Maria Marsico.
Can we say names?
She doesn't do I don't think she does hair anymore. She was an interesting bird, you know? But I've always been held hostage by a very specific type of person. And it's an individual who really likes me, gets along with me.
Promises the world.
I don't know how to explain it. We get really close really fast. I have that thing where people think we're best friends. And
you're like, don't touch me.
Yeah, and I get really like worried about it. But I know I can feel it. And as soon as that boundary gets crossed, they control everything I do. Because I know I am actually manipulating them.
Yeah.
So that they don't lose their mind. Like I know that they're crazy.
Yeah.
So I like know how to make...
And it's a form of protection.
Yeah. I'm like, I know how to make them laugh. I know how to... If they're uncomfortable, I take over.
We do that with clients. The whole be a chameleon. We do that with our clients too.
So my mother is like a bipolar alcoholic person. And that's when you're raised by someone like that, you learn to kind of chameleon yourself.
Yeah.
To make everyone... Like, I knew that if she got weird, I knew how to make up for it.
Yeah.
So like
these are just trauma responses.
Yeah.
And then we bring those into the workplace.
Exactly. So even though this person wasn't my mother or doing specifically those things,
yeah,
there were those little moments and memories that I had, and I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do here. And so it's a weird form of being held hostage because I didn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the manipulation part, right? Is like I kind of knew that I had to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason I knew that I had to be is because everybody else quit or got fired.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how to do the tap dancing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know how to put on the show to make everyone.
Oh my God.
To balance it all out.
This is still happening though. I know we're talking about from experience from like 10 years ago, but like this is still happening because obviously our students are still struggling with things like this. I think one of my favorite ways, I hope you can sense the sarcasm, of a hostage situation is a non-compete.
Paperwork, yeah. So
you can never work with anybody else ever again. Basically.
The non-compete is such a funny... It's the name itself is an oxymoron, right? It's a non-compete, but it's the most competitive form of doing business.
Yeah.
And I just know that an angry Italian man made it.
Oh, for sure.
It was an angry Italian man. I just know.
Yeah.
He had a whole crew, and they went and worked for a nicer non-Italian man. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm going to figure something out. And he created this piece of paper called the non-compete.
For 2 seconds, I forgot that you were telling a tale. And I was
there
like,
is no
really
Italian
happened.
man. I just, in my head, he is Italian.
I also think it could go the other way. I think that hairdressers can hold...
That he was an Irish woman?
Yeah, for sure. That hairdressers can hold salon owners hostage by not... this is the way I see it. Salon owners will want to make a change in their business. And it's actually a really proactive change, but it's terrifying because that's what change is. And the hairdressers will rally that they don't want to be a part of a salon with change. And therefore, the salon owner gets held hostage because they're afraid of a walkout.
They don't want to be part of a salon of change, but they want change.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're afraid to change. So they hold their salon owner hostage by saying, no, I'm not going to do A, B, and C. Maybe it's raise their prices or whatever. And then they not only say no to the change that can benefit anyone and the business, then they demand more money. It literally is
It's a hustle.
it's a hustle. And the salon owner is like, well, we're not making more money. How can I give you more money? And then it's, you take everything from me. And then they leave anyways.
It
How
is the
fucked up
most
is that?
abusive relationship. You know how like
We've all done that
you know how I've done it multiple times.
because
and
I didn't understand. And that's a whole different thing.
I
but
understood. I didn't care.
I didn't understand the inner workings of business of why I couldn't make more and realizing that I was responsible for that. And that I could make as much money as I wanted if I would have just.
But the other problem is that you and I didn't work at salons that let you raise your prices when you wanted.
Yeah.
So we had to sell a certain amount of retail before we could even.
Or where we were constantly upselling or overcharging or doing anything to try to make money.
Mary Pat Curry, talked about her before.
Mhm.
Talk about her again. Mary Pat Curry, I'm pretty sure
Sounds like a children's
she's
rhyme.
got to be dead now. I used to do her hair, and she was so mean to me, and I would just charge her so much money, and I felt
Great
fine.
response.
I felt fine doing it. Was it moral? No. Was it ethical?
Maybe if more clients
No.
were mean to us, we would raise our prices more because we.
I was like, Mary, your total is, $150 today, and for the abuse, I'm adding another $100. And you know what? That bitch paid it.
Yeah, and
I
she
think
paid
she
you
knew.
for the abuse.
And I think she knew.
Yeah.
I think she knew.
I
that she,
don't doubt it whatsoever.
She was the client that would walk in. She held me hostage.
Yeah.
She would walk in.
I was going to say clients hold hairdressers hostage too.
When someone walks in and the hair on the back of your neck stands up, you just know they're there?
Yeah.
That was her.
They have like a theme song like
Yeah.
boom boom or something like
Yeah,
that
it was
Netflix.
like Cruella DeVille. And everyone knew, like the air got colder.
Yeah.
Like you could see your breath.
A chill.
And she would come in and she would have all of her, she was
The
a golfer.
lights would flicker.
She was a golfer. And she was
A
gonna,
gopher?
and you were going to know she was a golfer.
Oh,
So she'd be sweaty
gross.
because she's getting her hair done. So I would wash the sweaty hair, So she's going to be sweaty.
That's a whole nother episode in itself.
She was sweaty, smelly. She smoked cigarettes like, it was bad. And to the point like where, like the blonde hair turns like a little green. That's how much she smoked. And she had a really deep, raspy voice because of the smoking. And she would have golf clubs and bags and,
She would come into the salon like this.
oh my God, it was the narcissism.
We should talk about her again on how to fire a client in a different episode.
The narcissism this woman had. And that type of personality scares me.
Yeah.
And I am surrounded by people that are like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
There's a lesson in it for you, I'm sure.
I don't know how to create boundaries with them because they latch onto me.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know one of our listeners is like, like they know people, like things are popping in.
they have a Mary Pat Curry, an MPC.
Mary Pat Curry. If you say it real fast, say that 5 times.
Mary Pat Curry. If you say it 5 times fast, she appears.
Well, I think that's the thing is like we have to start thinking differently in salons.
Do
Like,
we?
Yeah. Will we is a better question. Will we? Will we?
But I do remember, whether it was a client or whether it was my boss or even other hairdressers, there was these constant little, like, you can't do this, you can't do, like, everything was unspoken.
Yeah.
It was like little non-competes all over the place.
For sure. Well, clients would manipulate you and hold you hostage. I remember one of my students had hand surgery and she had it came on pretty sudden, but she gave everybody ample time to prepare their appointments prior to and after, which is.
Side note, one of my favorite words is ample.
And one of her clients was like, I guess I'll have to find someone else.
With her hand.
Yeah. With her hand. I guess I'll have to find someone else.
guess I'll have to find someone.
My student was like, I'm fucking having hand surgery. Like and it was only like a 3-week outing. Like
You know what I say? Do her hair with one hand. She deserves it.
Or fine, I would say go somewhere else. Bye. But that being held hostage right there is, I guess I'll have to find someone else. Bye. That's what I would say. Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I love how we're bringing that all the way into a different holiday. Anyways, but that's my point. Like, and we put so much weight on our clients in the sense of they care about me and I care about them.
No.
Break your hand. I dare you. I dare you to break your hand and see what happens. You come back and tell me how much they care about you.
It's kind of like when people tell us that they aren't held hostage by product companies.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so when the pandemic hit, what'd they do for you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they called. Yeah, to make sure you were still selling.
Yeah.
Figure out how to keep
Some
selling
of them
product.
made affiliate links. Oh my God. And then they took them away immediately.
Olaplex. But the point with all of that is that so many of us as creatives get held hostage because we're kind of under the assumption that, like, we don't know what we're doing. We have convinced ourselves as hairdressers that we're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Society started it. We picked up the torch. Hollywood paints us as stupid and vapid and, however, Steel Magnolias, I liked that version of a hairdresser. Dolly Parton.
Well, I grew up in the salon with my mom and her old lady hairdresser. Well, she wasn't an old lady. She was actually younger, but the salon had a lot of like older.
Yeah.
So that vibe, and we were in the South, so like that vibe. And I remember like taking out rollers and like sweeping. So that holds a special place in my heart.
But it's not as respected as it should be. And
which is funny because it used to be.
By men. With
that's
only
true,
men.
not women.
Like when you think of famous hairdresser, like you only think of men. Horst,
at first.
Vidal.
Yeah. Then the women start rolling in. I hope that's true.
Name one.
I hope we're wrong. Vivian McKenna.
Oh. McKenna. McJenner. Vivian McKinder.
Even ones that don't have celebrity status, but I think of like Lupe Vaz, and of course there's Tabitha, and like, you know what I mean? Like,
Tabitha.
Mm-hmm.
Sally Hershberger.
Yeah. Now that we're thinking about it, they're
the
flying.
90s.
Yeah.
The 90s is when that started.
I think all of our coaches are celebrities, so they're like, I love you, Dan.
No, they're not.
I know. Like,
they don't even listen.
Up. Yeah.
But I do. We are painted as stupid, vapid, not really knowing how to do business. And I don't think that's true. I
think that's true in any industry, but I don't think it's true as a collective entire industry of ours.
Yeah, and I think that more than ever we are respected. I think hairdressers can make more than a lot of other industries right now. But I just think that if we're talking about being held hostage by clients and by salon owners and by each other, by hairdressers, we're also being held hostage by the belief systems that
other people.
Yeah, have been put on us.
And
by
trauma.
other people.
I mean, and that's one of the, even though I'm very pro social media and like advocate it for it all the time, but I think that's also a problem. Someone will say something, and I think we get so lost and we forget what our own beliefs and ideas are that we'll then be held hostage of like, oh, I can't raise my prices because this person said, you're an asshole if you raise your prices. Or this person doesn't do this because of this. It's like, everybody mind your business and do what you want to do.
The amount of bullshit on Instagram about how to calculate your price and how to do the math and how to make sure you're it's like, girl,
everybody's right and everybody's wrong. I'll tell you that right now.
And
you need to look at it and decide, will that work for me? Yes, cool. I'm going to implement that. No, fuck off. And I think that's the end of it. But we don't. We get all wrapped up in our head of like, what will people think?
They're like, well, I saw someone say that you should do 15% of. I'm like, no, shut your mouth right now, because already this has nothing to do with you. This has to do with that person's math skills.
Yeah.
It's
or
just
what worked for their business, and it might not work for your business.
I'm sorry, but if anyone is having you calculate your price point to the T, it's probably wrong. It's probably way too.
On Instagram when they haven't been in your business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
When they don't know the inner workings of your business. Yeah. That's
But
a red
it's
flag.
funny when we talk about our coaching program. Actually, we don't talk about it a lot, but when we talk about it, people
We have more recently.
people come into our program and they're like, I want to know how to do hourly pricing. Okay, but you don't
We don't start with that.
you don't start with that because we have to get to know your business. We
Mm-hmm.
have to get to know who you are. By the way, what are your bills? What's your life look like? So all these people out there that are like, you got to factor in your color. It's like, no, you got to factor in daycare.
Yeah. Your pricing systems might be so off and messed up and not balanced that if we did time-based pricing, you would have to charge so much to be able to actually fund everything that you're doing. And so sometimes it isn't the right answer to do that right away. It's more about like, okay, let's build other things in your business so that can be the result of it. And
Exactly.
just a lot.
I think when it comes to being held hostage, yes, it's all these other people and all these other things, but it's really just you,
Yeah.
kind of accepting and keeping yourself locked up in a very much unlocked cage.
I 100% agree.